It was supposed to be the easiest goodbye of my life. My roommate had already packed the last box, loaded everything into the moving truck, and smiled with the kind of forced happiness people wear when they're trying not to cry. I stood frozen in the empty apartment, convinced I had already missed every chance to tell her what she had meant to me. She walked out the front door, and I whispered a goodbye she couldn't hear. Then, just as the truck engine started, footsteps thundered back up the hallway. Before I could even turn around, she threw her arms around me and kissed me with tears running down her face. In that single moment, every regret, every silent feeling, and every missed opportunity crashed into my heart at once. Before we continue this emotional journey, take a moment to like this video, leave a comment, share it with someone you care about, and subscribe to the channel if you believe that kindness, second chances, and honest love still have the power to change lives. Your support helps us bring more heartwarming stories to people around the world. 3 years earlier, I had moved into apartment 4C after accepting a new job in a city where I knew absolutely no one. Everything felt unfamiliar. The streets were crowded, the nights were lonely, and the tiny apartment barely felt like home. The landlord had already rented the second bedroom to another tenant named Emma. I expected awkward silence and polite greetings. Instead, I found someone who smiled like sunshine after a week of rain. Emma wasn't loud or dramatic. She simply had an extraordinary ability to make ordinary days feel meaningful. She always remembered when I had difficult meetings and quietly left encouraging notes beside the coffee machine. She never forgot my birthday, even when I barely remembered it myself. She celebrated my small victories as if they were her own and somehow knew when I needed space without asking questions. At first, we were simply roommates sharing rent and chores. Then we became friends who watched old movies on rainy weekends, cooked disastrous dinners together, laughed until midnight over ridiculous memories, and slowly built a friendship that became the safest place either of us had ever known. Life, however, has a cruel way of testing people when they finally begin to feel comfortable. Only 8 months after moving in, my company announced major layoffs. My department disappeared almost overnight. One afternoon I walked through the apartment door carrying a cardboard box filled with everything that had been on my office desk. I tried pretending everything was fine, but Emma looked at my face and immediately understood. Without making a scene, she simply sat beside me while I stared at the floor. She never offered empty promises. Instead, she reminded me that losing one job did not mean losing my worth. Over the following months, while rejection emails filled my inbox, she quietly carried more than her share of the bills, insisting that I repay her only when life became stable again. Those months humbled me in ways I never expected. I discovered how difficult it is to ask for help and how powerful it is when someone gives it without making you feel ashamed. Eventually, I found another position. The salary wasn't impressive, but it was enough to rebuild my confidence. I paid Emma every dollar I owed her, yet somehow I still felt indebted because no amount of money could repay the kindness she had shown me. As the years passed, people around us constantly assumed we were dating. We always laughed off the question. Deep inside, though, my feelings had quietly changed. I loved her patience, her courage, her compassion, and the way she believed people deserved another chance even after they disappointed themselves. Still, fear became stronger than honesty. I worried that confessing my feelings might destroy the friendship that had become my entire support system. So I convinced myself that silence was the mature choice. Every day I postponed the conversation until tomorrow, believing tomorrow would always come. Then life interrupted again. Emma's father became seriously ill in another state. She began traveling back and forth every weekend, balancing work with hospital visits. The cheerful woman I knew slowly became exhausted. Dark circles appeared beneath her eyes, but she refused to complain. One evening she finally admitted that her father needed constant care and that she had accepted a transfer to a branch office closer to her hometown. She would be leaving in 6 weeks. The words landed like stones inside my chest. I smiled because I thought that was what a supportive friend should do. I congratulated her on the opportunity. I even helped her compare moving companies. Every encouraging sentence felt like another brick sealing away everything I truly wanted to say. Those final weeks passed far too quickly. The apartment slowly transformed into a museum of memories disappearing into cardboard boxes. The bookshelf where we had argued over novels became empty. The kitchen where we had burned countless dinners echoed with silence. The living room walls, once covered with photographs from road trips and birthdays, looked strangely cold after the frames came down. Every empty corner reminded me that time never waits for people who hesitate. The night before she moved, a thunderstorm rolled across the city. Electricity disappeared for nearly an hour. We sat on the living room floor surrounded by half-packed boxes, using candles for light. We laughed about our first week as roommates, remembering how we had accidentally locked ourselves out wearing pajamas and spent 2 hours convincing a neighbor to help. We talked about dreams we still hadn't accomplished and mistakes we wished we could change. More than once, I almost confessed everything. The words reached my throat before fear dragged them back down. Morning arrived much too soon. Moving trucks always sound louder than they should. Every box carried downstairs felt like another piece of my heart leaving with it. Friends from her office came to help. They loaded furniture while I carried smaller boxes. We stayed busy because staying busy hurt less than thinking. Finally, only one box remained. Emma picked it up herself. She looked around the apartment one final time with quiet eyes filled with memories too heavy for words. She thanked me for being the best roommate she could have asked for. I thanked her for everything she had done for me. Neither of us said what truly mattered. She walked through the front door. The hallway suddenly felt enormous. For the first time since meeting her, I imagined returning home to complete silence. No music from the kitchen. No sarcastic notes on the refrigerator. No late-night conversations after difficult days. Only empty rooms. My heart screamed for me to stop her. My feet refused to move. I whispered goodbye so quietly that even I barely heard it. The truck engine started outside. Then it stopped. Seconds later I heard rapid footsteps racing back toward the apartment. The front door burst open. Emma dropped the final box onto the floor without caring that its contents spilled everywhere. Before I could ask what happened, she wrapped her arms around me with every ounce of strength she had. Then she kissed me. When she finally stepped back, tears streamed freely down her face. She admitted that she had walked all the way to the truck waiting for me to stop her, hoping I would tell her not to leave without knowing how I truly felt. When I stayed silent, she realized she couldn't spend the rest of her life wondering what might have happened if she had been brave for both of us. Her courage shattered every wall I had built around my own heart. I confessed everything I had hidden for nearly 3 years. I admitted that I had loved her long before I even understood what those feelings meant. I confessed that every ordinary day beside her had quietly become the happiest chapter of my life. Neither of us had been rejected. Neither of us had stopped loving. We had simply allowed fear to speak louder than hope. Life did not magically become easy after that day. She still had to move. Her father still needed care. We still faced hundreds of miles separating us. Long-distance relationships tested our patience, our trust, and our determination. There were lonely evenings, delayed flights, missed anniversaries, unexpected hospital emergencies, and moments when exhaustion almost convinced us to give up. Yet something had changed forever. This time we faced every obstacle together instead of separately. Instead of wondering how the other person felt, we shared every fear honestly. Months later, after her father slowly recovered enough to regain his independence, Emma received permission to transfer back to our city. The apartment we eventually rented together looked nothing like the first one. It was brighter, larger, and filled with fresh memories instead of old furniture. Near the entrance sat a small cardboard box that neither of us ever unpacked. Inside were the broken picture frames and scattered belongings from the box she had dropped while running back to kiss me. People often asked why we kept damaged items instead of replacing them. The answer was simple. Those broken pieces reminded us that sometimes life falls apart at exactly the right moment so something far more beautiful can begin. Years later, when friends struggled with fear or uncertainty, we always encouraged them not to let silence decide their future. Regret grows quietly inside hearts that wait too long, while courage often arrives disguised as one terrifying step forward. If this story touched your heart, please like this video, share it with someone who needs hope today, subscribe to the channel for more emotional stories, and let us know your thoughts in the comments. Your support allows these stories of kindness, love, and second chances to reach more hearts. Special request: before the story ends, please leave a comment answering this question. Have you ever let fear stop you from telling someone how you truly felt? As I look back now, I realize the kiss itself was unforgettable, but it wasn't the greatest gift Emma gave me. The greatest gift was proving that love isn't always about perfect timing or perfect words. Sometimes love is simply finding the courage to run back before the door closes forever. And whenever I see someone carrying the last box out of a home, I quietly hope they never leave without saying what their heart has been waiting to say, because some goodbyes become forever, while others become the beautiful beginning of a lifetime together.